And good afternoon, everyone. Now we made it, Saturday, February 14th. It's Valentine's Day. Wonderful guests, and I asked them if they would take calls, and they said yes. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, to speak with Deborah and Jonathan Flora. And again, this is a show that I've tried for 2 years to put together. Deborah and I were together,
Yes.
and then, of course, Jonathan and I, following the death of Hulk Hogan, came in, and that was really one of them. Actually, a favorite show. That was.
I so enjoyed that time together. That was the fastest 3 hours of my life, probably. And we could have gone on.
Well, now phones are lighting up, and this last hour went quick. Next Saturday, Chuck Morris, rock entrepreneur, and Chuck and I really, literally got sober together. And Chuck's coming in the studio. He's going to talk, and I hope Brett Saunders will come with him from KBCO. Brett's now helping Chuck write his biography. He's his ghost, and I've invited him. But Chuck sent me a list of people that will be calling the show, and just I'll see if I can find it real quick. But it is amazing the amount of people that Chuck knows, and he's now and he's the lion and winner. He's in quasi-retirement, and he went on to do so many things here. I'll just give you just a rundown of who he said he wanted. He said, how about the leader of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, who I managed for? I said, okay, sure, fine. He said, my friend, comedian Josh Blue, of course. Lau Lovett. He said, how about Big Head Todd? He said, can I have Joe Walsh call the show?
Oh, that's
and I said,
great.
You kidding me? Of course you can. So, and then after that, Joel Oltmann will be a guest the following Saturday. So that is a lineup of stars. But right now, there's nobody better. 303-696-1971. We'll go and take calls with the guys. I ask you the secret, and you must have some secret. Like people say, never go to bed mad, and I think, come on. Never do this, never do that.
We do have something like that, and we agree with that, but also don't say anything you can't take back. Don't let words come out of your mouth that you can't take back. And I always think the look that I would see on Deborah's face if I ever said something hurtful, and you can ask forgiveness and she would forgive me, but somewhere there that would always be there.
Right.
And we're very fortunate, even with our kids. We've never had slammed doors. We've never had I hate you. We've never had any of that.
How old were you when you got married?
44.
See?
Yeah. And I was 35, and the thing about that is I think we'd gone through a lot. We knew. Jonathan told me within 2 weeks he wanted to marry me. I knew within 3 months. We were married within 8 months. But I would say, I would say, and I'm not recommending that for everybody. It's just we knew. We called it divine efficiency, which is why we were still able to have kids and all of that. But I would say one of the best pieces of advice that we got when we first were married is if there is a problem, you need to look at it like you are both on the same side, not across the problem from one another, because otherwise you're shooting at each other. If the problem is here, no matter who caused it, if I caused it or Jonathan caused it, we're on the same side working together. What I don't understand, or what I think is so destructive, is when people take it out on one another, because if you really are one, which we believe we are, both from a spiritual standpoint, a Christian standpoint, and also a marriage standpoint, then why would I hurt my other half? And I would say to women, one of the things I never liked when I was in some of these groups with other wives is, don't tear your husband down. The reality is we live in a culture where men are so emasculated. When I was still doing commercials, I knew if I was cast as the wife, my husband would be a buffoon who'd be burning up the grill, and then I'd have to save him as a hero wife. I respect him immensely. And if we ever have anything we have to work out, we do it together. We don't do it out in front of anyone else. And yeah, maybe it's a cheap thing to just, joke about it. It bothers me when people joke about marriage, because I'm like, it's actually the greatest blessing. It's to know that there's someone that knows you so well and is the witness to your life, and you share that. It's far richer than what Hollywood tries to make this little sizzle romance that doesn't show what real love is. Real love is a choice every single day. Wow. And if you joke with one another, he makes me laugh a lot, and he actually thinks I'm funny, which is very fun.
Well, just for full clarity, I've never been the starter and instigator of any problem. Never been me.
we had a gag
Me
when
either.
when we were kids. I grew up in a little steel mill town on the Allegheny River, and this is how a guy asked a girl to marry him. He would say, "You're going to have a what?"
Mine was, I was looking at the furniture in her house, and I said, you know, your stuff would look really good with my stuff.
He's a screenwriter and a director, you know, obviously was with Walt Disney Studios for a while, and also our company Lamplight Entertainment, but he had some great lines.
Well, this is true. When we first met, she actually had quite short hair. But she walked through, and it was like Wayne's World with slow motion. And if she had hair, I heard Dreamweaver, but it was more like little flicks because she didn't have any hair to blow around.
Well, what was funny is I'd actually just gone through a phase in Hollywood dating the worst guys, and that year I was like, I'm in my I don't need men phase. I mean, that year in the National American
See, I
Shakespeare
can't
Company,
imagine you.
Oh, I had short hair. I was wearing combat boots. I wore black leather. And that year I played two major roles in theater. One was a nun, and the other one was Joan of Arc. And my entire thing was, I don't need men, because I had seen, you know, really in Hollywood, you see people that are anatomically perfect. But it doesn't take long until you realize they're unattractive because there is nothing inside. And I felt like the ultimate codependent. Oh, you're a vampire, come suck me dry. Just go ahead. That's it. But when I met Jonathan,
I was never anatomically perfect, so I
look at you.
pretty darn good looking. But
No,
we,
he is. He's a good-looking man.
but we met in our church, and I remember having this internal conversation thinking there are no good guys in Hollywood. And then I saw him, and he was teaching second grade Sunday school. So here's this big guy. He was a producer at Walt Disney Studios teaching second graders, and I'm having this internal dialogue with God saying, okay, so there's one good man in all of Hollywood. But he didn't remember meeting me
Who
first
made the
time.
first? Who made the first
Okay,
move?
can I tell my version?
Yeah, it is your version. So yeah, you own it.
So I'm having this internal dialogue with God about that. There's no good guys here. There's no Christians in Hollywood, and so I see him, and it was a day where people are talking about why they appreciated the church and the pastor and all that. And he got up, and this was this was not a line. He gets up and he says in front of the entire congregation, he goes, you know, I'm not married yet, not because I haven't met the right woman, but I haven't become the right man. And he meant every word of it. But I got to tell you,
I'm writing this stuff down.
I know. Every single woman in that church was like, oh, I think I'm feeling the Holy Spirit. It's me.
Did you ever?
And I have to tell you, just to conclude this, I never introduced myself to guys ever. But I went up to Jonathan that day and I said, hi, I'm Deborah Ricks. And I looked in
So
his
you
eyes.
moved first.
Yeah, but he does not remember meeting me. And I walked away. There's a line of women
I was in a
behind
movie
me.
with you.
I know. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. But here's a reason why I think that was a really great thing.
Yeah.
I was going through a bad breakup. I was not ready to have a healthy relationship. I would have messed it up. And I think God protected us. And then 1 year later, he saw me. That was the Wayne's World with short hair flipping. He saw me, and he knew within 2 weeks he wanted to marry me. And I just think it was the right timing. God was in the middle of all of it.
Yeah, that always used to frustrate me when I would see guys in a good marriage, and I go, how did you know she was the one?
Yeah.
I just knew. And I go, no. How did you know? I just knew. And that answer always frustrated me because I never knew. You know, I'd maybe lied that I knew or tried to talk myself into saying I knew.
Did you have good role models?
Not really. Not in my immediate family.
Yeah,
no.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was the first marriage for both of us, believe it or not, after all that time. So, yeah, so he knew. So we like to say there's really two parts. The first one doesn't count because he doesn't remember meeting me. And then the second one, he knew right away we were married within 8 months. She says
this, I don't remember. She said that when she turned around, there were a bunch of girls behind her in line to come up and talk to me.
He really didn't see him.
But it's like anytime you come down from talking, sometimes it's kind of a blur. Not that this was a really big group. But yeah, I don't remember.
See, I always wrote it off as I can't hit the curve on the outside corner. You know?
Exactly.
I couldn't hit the deuce.
Yeah, and then everybody knows.
And everybody knows, you know.
Yeah.
But later in that year that passed, she would get coffee and walk by where I would be getting the kids.
Man.
And I always saw her, and I always thought she was attractive, but I was trying to get my act together.
He wasn't dating anyone at that time.
No,
And I
had
wasn't.
to get my act together.
Yeah,
I knew my weaknesses.
Yeah. By the way, that one of the words you never say, we never say to each other, we never use the D word, which is divorce. And in fact, in our vows, Jonathan put in there, we both put in there, I will never leave you nor divorce you. And we had so many people say, how could you know that? And we're like, because we're committed to the commitment. And then as Christians, we really do believe that as we keep growing closer to God, we grow closer to each other.
This is a great show. Like, let's go to the phones. We go to Hank. Hank, you're on a radio show. Deborah and Jonathan Flora are here. It's Valentine's.
Hi, Pete. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey,
How
guys.
y'all
Hey there.
doing?
Good, Pete.
Good.
Thanks for calling.
Pete, oh, sure. Pete is your fellow thespian, and Deborah, your fellow thespian. I was in the AA scene with The Shining Pete. If you remember, I told you that story.
Oh.
I'm sitting next to Steven Weber. So I'm an
Yes.
extra. Okay, so I'm sitting next to Steven Weber. I'm
Right.
just chit-chatting with him. He has this big grin on his face, and he realizes this guy has no idea who I am because I watched Wings, okay? But Steven cut his hair for this scene
Yes,
because I
he
remember him with
did.
the long hair, right? So Steven's, Stephen King goes, quiet on the set, action, and then Steven Weber stands up, and I'm like, oh my God, you know?
Well, you know what?
So
funny,
I ended up on the cutting room floor because I was too close to the target.
right.
And then, Deborah, I called you. I was the caller that called one time when you were with KNUS. You were talking about communism, and I'm the person who called in telling you when I was in China in 1981 how
yes.
I experienced. Oh, you remember?
Well, yeah, I think I do remember because of both those things. Two funny stories. One, when we were auditioning, because I was working with the producer Mark Harliner and Steven and Mick Garris,
Mick.
and we were auditioning for the role, the Jack Nicholson role, and nobody wanted to do it. And I was reading opposite all of these guys. So we had Colin Firth come in, we had Carrie Elwes come in, and all these big actors didn't want to do this because who wants to take on the Jack, Nicholson role?
Right.
Who wants to take that on? And Steven Weber did, and it was hard on his career, but he was actually a really great actor, and he put a lot into that. So
He was
it
a good
an
guy. I
He
mean, he
was.
talked to me.
And it's funny, Colin Firth, who Kingsman and all these other movies. He walks in, and I was reading opposite him. I was playing both the boy, and I was playing the Rebecca De Mornay character, and all of this. And Mick Garris at the time said, "Could you do it without a British accent, real quick?" And he just switched. But Steven Weber had courage to play that part.
Just one second. You mentioned Daphne du Maurier.
Oh, Rebecca De Mornay.
Oh, okay.
She was from
okay.
Risky Business. She played
Okay.
the character, the wife.
Because you caught me, I said, that's one of my favorite
Oh yeah.
sleeper writers.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and thank you for the comment about China. I think you did that after when I shared about being in the Soviet Union during the coup.
Wow.
Right.
Yes.
And when I was in China, you were only allowed to wear two different sets of clothes. One, they were both Mao jackets and the Mao pants with the hat, and you only had choice of two colors: blue or army green.
So what?
So
Yep.
I still don't see a problem.
Yeah, you did it perfectly, Peter.
Yeah, that was definitely the Cultural Revolution.
Wearing somebody else's clothes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
right.
Good
So-
call. Hank
Go ahead.
said, thank you, sir. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Be
you,
safe.
guys.
All right, we
Thanks,
go to
Peter.
Jack. Jack, you're on a radio show. There's a line open, 303-696-1971. Jack, you're on the air.
Yeah, Pete, I love talking to you. I've talked to you for 30 years, I think. But my wife, my late wife, she passed away 4 years ago, and it kills me. But anyway, she and your wife were good friends, and you probably didn't know that.
Which one?
But, well, the one
It's a
she
joke.
left about 10 years ago, I think. And she and my wife went out together buying all brand new furniture. You probably remember the bill on that one.
If you would
But,
continue. Yeah.
But the purpose of my call is the key to us being happily married for 54 years was very simple. We never commingled or did taxes together. She had her funds. What she did was her business. I had my own portfolios. I did my own stuff, but I paid all the bills. She never paid for a penny in all the years we were married. Cars, it didn't matter what it was. Houses, I paid for everything. But when she passed away, her portfolio had money in it that she inherited from her mother and her father, and then what she earned for 54 years was hers. And of course, when she passed away, it was handed down to me, and it was way over seven figures.
Wow.
So I mean, I never had a clue what she had or what she did, or I was never involved in it. We didn't file joint tax forms. But I mean, it worked flawlessly. We never had an argument. Like if I went out and bought 2 brand new Peterbilts for my company, she never knew about it. She didn't care about it, and it was never a discussion. And if I bought a $25,000 shotgun, it was never mentioned.
They sold for $25,000.
Well, here's the thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, Holland and Holland.
Okay.
Royals. That's what they call. The new one is 99,000, by the way.
Wow.
I was buying used ones in the 20s.
Well, here's what I would say. First of all, I'm so sorry for the loss of your wife and the 54 years. That's a phenomenal thing. And I think, you got to figure out what works for you all as a couple. Jonathan and I did the opposite. Everything is joint, but we talk about every decision. And we also run a business together. So I think the way that we do it slightly differently, it works for us. And we talk about things. We don't argue over money. But we also, by the way, a great piece of advice we got when we were first married was from an aunt and uncle that he had who are a generation older than us. And they said, do what works for you guys. Like in that relationship, the husband did all the gardening and cooking and the wife did all the finances. I handle our finances and I'm the producer for our business. Jonathan is the creative. But we did merge everything and that works for us. But congratulations on your 54 years and condolences on the loss of
You're the man,
your wife.
Jackie. Thanks, Bubba. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
How did you get into radio? Jonathan, you were in radio. How did you get into the business?
Yeah, I mean, when I found out I could actually go to college, I went to Ohio University, and I thought initially I wanted to be a forest ranger because I like the woods and all that. And then the more I was talking to somebody, they said that Ohio University had a great broadcasting school. And so that was what my bachelor's degree was in radio, television, performance, and production. And my freshman year, I ended up getting a job on the campus radio network because a buddy of mine that was a couple years behind me in high school, but because of being in the Army, he now was a couple years ahead of me in college. I try not to knock your headphones
That's
off
okay.
again.
You gesture bigger than I do, so I'll move over.
And that guy had done color for hockey the year before. When he showed up this year, the play-by-play guy quit or didn't come back to school. He dropped out. So he got play-by-play, and he referred me. And the guy, the general manager says, yeah, but he's not ever done any radio. He goes, look, when we're partying and we're all drunk and we're playing Yahtzee or whatever, he's the only guy that knows the score. So he'll be good. So that was my first gig, was doing play-by-color hockey.
Well, you have a great voice. I mean, you really do.
Oh, well, thanks. I have a face for radio. We know that's a strategy.
Please.
But yeah, so I ended
beg
up
to
going into
disagree.
radio, and then I worked for 3 years in between, doing Ohio University basketball games, football games, got women's basketball on the air, so that's a big thing of mine, is protecting female athletes in their sports. But then I got to cover the Reds and the Bengals, and that's how I became good friends with Marty Brenneman.
Someday we're going to do that
I
show.
can't wait to do that. We've got a great WWF event with Marge Schott that'll have people howling.
Marge Schott.
I know. You almost got to get an eye tick when you say her name.
And her dog, Shotzi. I
Yeah.
remember the name.
Yeah, that dog used to Shotzi all over
Yes,
the
it
field.
did. Yes, it did.
It wasn't small.
They forced her out.
Yeah, they did.
What was your first job you got paid doing radio?
Was a local station just outside of Cincinnati.
What
I
was-
ended up filling in for a guy for doing some sports, and I was able to get the sports department to grow. I had my shows called the Rock Jock Sports Guy.
Of course.
And so I combined rock music and everything with sports, and we were able to sell advertising, and that's how I got to do some of the other things.
I just
the
have
other
to read you
gigs.
this quick text. Peter, great show. Deborah, you're getting the big thumbs up. When we come back, we'll bring up how you got into radio.
Yes.
This is great stuff. Deborah and Jonathan Flora, it is Valentine's weekend. Stay here.
Your 710 KNUS forecast this Saturday: sunny skies, highs around 60. Clear tonight, lows in the lower 30s. Mostly sunny and warmer for Sunday, highs near 65 with overnight lows in the middle 30s. Monday, Washington's birthday, partly sunny skies, highs in the mid to upper 60s. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm day weather meteorologist Patrice Sutter in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
see. A request from Deborah and Jonathan for one another. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. It's Saturday afternoon. I'm Peter Boyles. 710 KNUS 58 will be the high. 66 tomorrow on Sunday, a motorcycle day. And back to work Monday, 68 degrees. Wow.
That's your ringtone.
That's
phone for her.
Click them up.
Yes.
Danny Kaplis' law firm, and Danny suggests you choose an attorney who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says so much about you and everybody involved in the case. Dan's dad, of course, was a cop, and we talked about Danny growing up was a seminarian, dedicated the last 40 years of his life helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. And Dan's believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan's also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law, now he's the official partner with the Nuggets and the Avs. Danny's firm, serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on percentage fee basis, so he can represent good people, all walks of life, without regard and ability to pay. He is a friend, but he's a hell of a lawyer. You need Danny's help? 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplislaw.com. Danny's last name, of course, spelled Caplis law.com. In studio, and now I say it for the 19th time, it's a show that I've wanted to do for a long time. We're getting a lot of ups on the website, people calling in and saying, good show, great day to do so. So we talked about you getting into radio. Deborah, how did you what a background, but how did you get into radio?
Yeah, I've been doing radio on and off about for 15 years, and how it came about was when we got married and we were blessed to have our 2 children. I was fortunate to be able to make the choice to focus on being a mom, which I will never ever regret. And I remember the last time I auditioned for a movie, it was a Walt Disney Studios movie. It was finally something I could say yes to because it was clean and all of that. But they looked at me, and it was between me and one other woman to be cast for the lead, and they said, this is going to film in Vancouver over Christmas for 3 months. And I thought, that's it, I'm done. I can't do that anymore, because there's no way, I'm not Angelina Jolie. I can't move an entire household up to Vancouver over Christmas. And I had no regrets, but I also had a really good friend of mine who said, she was a very gifted actress, and she goes, I think I'm better with other people's words, and I think you're better with your own words. And she mentioned about doing radio, and I started really caring particularly about things that women were dealing with in the culture. I'd seen so many women that took themselves so cheaply and were ready just to compromise themselves to get ahead in Hollywood and all of that. So that's the first show I did. And then we did a women's talk show, another person and I, and it was actually Ed Atzinger, head of Salem.
There you go.
I know. And somebody set up a meeting, and he was like, we don't have enough women on radio. And I also was getting very involved in constitutional issues. I've always referred to myself more as a constitutional conservative, and a lot of women disconnected from that. So we did our very first show. And even though we did it in Los Angeles, it was broadcast here. Brian Taylor at KNUS. Ed Atzinger picked up the phone, and David Centrella, and said, you've got to get these ladies on. And so I did, and I've done different permutations. I've done a syndicated show for Christian women. I've done a conservative talk show for, that was more on the conservative side. And then when we came back to Colorado, back home, Brian Taylor and I had already started talking, and this was my landing spot, and it was a wonderful place to be. Started doing a Sunday show, and then I had my own show, and it's just, I think one of the things about radio, and Peter, you know this, I think it is one of the ways we have saved our country, because it's one of the places where people don't tell us what we have to say or can't say. We just get to communicate directly, and I think that is incredibly valuable.
Radio is losing its footage right now, and I think everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Have you thought about? I heard you yesterday for Mandy, and I'm a big Mandy fan.
She's awesome.
Yeah, we talk a lot. Would you go back?
Here's what I've realized: a daily, like Peter, what you cranked out during the day. I mean,
years.
4 hours a day. Yeah. That is really tough. And what I realized is many different things that I want to be doing. I mean, I was doing a 1 hour show every day, and that was manageable. What I really like doing is either once a week or guest hosting, because we're doing film projects. We're launching a nonprofit. We're doing a lot of different things. So I like the balance, and I do a lot of speaking. So I like the balance of being able to do some radio. But boy, people like yourself and others who do 5 hours a day, 4 hours a day, that's a huge chunk.
I say that the 3 hardest things in the world to do, and everybody thinks it's easy: 10 bar, grow a garden, and do a radio show. And it looks good from the outside, or it looks easy from the outside, but have a Friday night when the bar's 3 deep and they're yelling out,
right?
Drinks with umbrellas in them, and you got.
Yeah, we hit the trifecta.
Oh yeah,
I attended bar for years and years. I had a shirt that said, "Gimme died and hey, don't work here anymore."
Yeah. No, for real.
Yeah. And if you do radio the right way, like I do a ton of research when I do radio, because I don't ever want to say something that I haven't verified. Don't just take the headline, don't just take the story, look at the sources and all of that. So I would do, half an hour to an hour prep for almost every hour I was on the air. I might eventually do it again, but right now there's so many different things.
Have you thought about doing it together, teaming together?
We actually talked about doing a podcast together.
Right now she's got a great show called Mandy and Deb show.
We do.
So they do a show through Independence Institute.
IITV.
But maybe this was kind of our trial pilot run to see how we did with you.
Yeah.
About
great.
us doing a show.
No, it's a great show. You guys are wonderful.
And also, the world is really broken open a lot on that.
Man.
You can do podcasts, you can do a lot of different things. And so we've talked about that. Jonathan also has a huge background in military history, both having studied it and being an 82nd Airborne veteran. So that might be it. But right now he's writing scripts. We are producing some projects, and so a lot of other things happening.
So, I mean, we've gotten it this far. What are you going to do next? I mean, you guys have done a lot.
Yeah,
next is now.
Yeah,
We're
next
doing
is
stuff.
now. We've got one project that we're working on, which is a 25th anniversary special for 9/11, because we've got great friends with the FDNY. We've got some exclusive footage interviewing Rudy Giuliani, and so that's in the works right now. We've got a couple of other projects that we're in development. We have some feature scripts that Jonathan, he's the writer, I'm the story editor, and we've got some interest in those. But there's other things too. I mean, I have to say, living this, what we call kind of a Forrest Gump sort of life. I mean, having been in, I've been in ministry. I went to Denver Seminary. We've been in Hollywood, then the political field. There is something that we're working on that I can't announce yet, but it's a larger way we look at how do we pull this country back from the precipice of division, because we've got 2 fringes that are ready to drive it off the edge.
Yeah, and part of that is we're of a small group of people that have started an organization called Douglas County Citizenry. We're about a year and a half.
I came down to one of your get-togethers.
Yes,
in fact, we just had one last week. It was with Sheriff Wick, who says hi, by the way.
He's
He
a good
told me to
friend.
be
Sheriff
sure to
Darren
tell
Wick.
you
Very
that
good
he
friend,
said
yes.
hi. And George Brockler was on, and also Michael Allen, who is running for Colorado DA.
And we have standing room only.
Or
and that,
AG. What is
yeah.
it? I always get my
Attorney
DA and
General.
AGs
Attorney General.
mixed up.
Yeah, and
A question I promised I was
Yes.
not going to ask.
yes. Okay.
Are you done running for office?
I think I am. I mean, here's what I realize is
Applaud. I remember
gotta-
that's where I met Jonathan at one of
It's so hard because here he is, and he's a defender by nature, and he knows I can take care of myself also. But he had to sit back, and the worst part about running this last time was people would ask me, what's it like to take on the Democrats on issues? I'm like, I'll let you know when I get there. What has happened in our country, and I think everybody understands it, is we are in a position where we have fringe elements that do not represent the masses. And the masses, I truly do believe 80% agree on 80% of things. And if we can actually get people back to talking with one another, we can solve the issues. We can take Colorado and move it, the Overton window, back to just balanced. And we're more interested in how do we make the big moves?
You got, well, because I watched it, I know what happened, and it's happening again.
Yeah. Well, here's one of my I'd say pillars that I believe if we don't want good policy because we actually care about our neighbors, look, if the best policies were on the Democrat side, I'd be a Democrat. I want to know what works to help human beings live their lives free and flourish. I believe they're constitutional guidelines that actually help people flourish. But if that's not why you're involved in the civic arena, if you're in it because you want your power, you want to be reelected, you want a name, you want to drop rage bait so you get a huge following, you're in it for the wrong reasons. And I love what Lincoln said, with malice towards none, with charity towards all, with firmness in the right as God gives you to see the right. There's humility there. We don't all have a corner on truth.
If you think just in my lifetime, Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan.
100%.
Two old Irishmen, who
Great case study.
that came up tough. Both of them came up tough.
Yes.
And they would meet.
Yep.
And it's called the Truman Balcony. And it's off the Oval Office. And
yeah, and I will say, obviously, the when you have Democrat Socialists under the dome here in Denver, things they've gotten more extreme and fringe. It's interesting right now, Peter, that in Colorado, 51% of active voters are
Independents. Oh, absolutely.
and by choice. There was a
Absolutely.
poll that came out. Let Colorado vote. 86% of those independents choose to be, because they feel the parties are too extreme. Now, like I said, I'm as conservative as they come because I'm a constitutionalist. But what I believe that means is you need to want the best for your fellow neighbor. You need to fight for policies that respect the dignity of each individual. And if you're an adult, to pursue your own unique idea of happiness. I draw the line when it comes to children. Let's leave them out of all of these agendas. But that has to be the motivation.
But as an observer and being part of the action for a really long time, what I'm seeing, that it used to be the Republicans, Democrats, Republicans, your turn, his turn, and I don't mean it to present it that lightly, but now this is a death match. I mean, this is really loser leaves town in a cage. I mean, they're not messing. These people don't talk to each other.
That is the biggest problem, because the minute that we abandon civil discourse, where we can say, you know what, we disagree on certain things. Whenever I've spoken to somebody who disagrees with me, we found we agree on 85%.
People go in the streets now. On the back. I mean, this is an old guy, being stumped by it. Really being stumped by it. That there's no give.
We have got to get back to a point where we understand the beauty that is America is this. It's the once in all of human history revolutionary idea that every single individual has intrinsic value, therefore individual rights, and government has one job to protect them. The minute that we think a person that disagrees with us is our enemy, this is the 25th anniversary of 9/11. We saw who our enemy was. People who are against Western civilization. We've got to get back to that, and that's what we are more interested in.
And to stay with the pro wrestling analogy, when we're in that tag team match, I know I can get hit by a chair, but not by my tag team partner.
Yeah.
And that's what is really complicating. You cannot be a conservative and an authoritarian. And there's way too much of that. The slings and arrows, the death threats, they didn't come from the left. They came from people on the right. And that's what is not obviously helping at all.
No, I'm a witness to that. And it's, as a conservative guy on most issues, it's difficult to watch all this.
We have an interesting story. When we did Friends of A, the underground conservative organization, the first meeting was a beautiful example of what America is supposed to be. In that room, and I can say some of the names, I won't say all the names because it's like Fight Club, but Andrew Breitbart was there. He was standing next to, he was a libertarian, socially not conservative, standing next to Pat Boone, Mr. I will drink milk, squeaky clean Christian, next to a log cabin Republican who was one of the top showrunners of
those
the
are
day.
gay Republicans, you
yes,
guys.
Gay Republicans, John Voight, Gary Sinise, Jonathan, and myself. And the only thing that we all agreed on in that room is we would fight for one another's individual rights to live freely. That is what the Constitution is about. And that is the big tent. And we, Andrew Breitbart used to say when we'd walk into one of our rooms for Friends of AP, he'd go, oh, the Floras are pro-life, you're pro-choice, you should get together and talk about it. And we did. And we agreed on 80% and then agreed the other 20% were things that we could continue to talk about.
But But again, things have gotten away from us.
Yeah.
And even in this business or in newscasting, what Fox puts on and what CNN puts on, and we become tribal, and you pick your tribe and you go with your tribe, and there's no cross pollination.
Yeah.
You either are that person or you're not.
Yeah.
And it's frightening.
George Washington said the two-party system would be the death of the republic. Now, I've been a lifelong Republican, but my allegiance is to God first, to the United States flag, which represents the Constitution that is for all of us. It's not to a party. I am a Republican because it's where I vote. But the minute we have our ultimate allegiance to a tribe and not to the principles that have made this country great, that's when we have a problem.
And to your point, everybody's in their silos. They're only hearing the choir ringing in their ears instead of talking with other people.
Stay right here. We come back Saturday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, with the Floors. I'm Peter Boyles, 710 KNUS. Looking for love in all the wrong places. Johnny Lee. Bob Lee and I did a show with Mickey Gilley and Bob Lee, and the guys came out of Gilley's in Texas.
What a history you've got.
Oh, that's amazing.
From Pasadena, Texas.
This one is not our theme song, by the way, because we looked for love in the right place.
No,
so.
this is
I
like
found it.
Johnny Lee, man.
It's a good song, though.
And Mickey Gilley.
Yeah, Urban Cowboy.
Urban
is
Cowboy
the song.
put him on the map.
When you think about it, when you think about what Travolta did,
Yes.
when he did Saturday Night Fever, ushered in disco, which gave me my first jobs working in discotheques, and then when I got a country morning show with the late great Bob Lee, what did they do?
Yeah.
All the outlaw music hit, and they did this, and wow, it changed everything. You can
It
see
sure
how
did.
much power. We're talking about films off air and all the work and everything that's done, but boy,
Yeah.
I mean, they just had so much strength,
Yeah.
and I don't even know if that's true anymore.
Well, I think, you know, you can simply look at what has happened with the Academy Awards. So few people watch them now. They have changed the guidelines. In order to be up for Best Picture, you have to meet all of these DEI
Yes.
criteria. And usually the Academy Awards now is to prop up movies that they think people need to know and be
Well, they're
smarter for
agenda-driven.
watching. They're agenda driven. There are, you know, the movies that really connect are oftentimes not the mainstream ones anymore. Sound of Freedom or The Chosen, all these that have been done outside the system.
Yeah, and just I mean, great films when I was a young guy and a kid. Movies made a difference,
Oh, yeah.
and today I can't say. I'm trying to think of the last movie that made a difference
I don't know.
I mean in my world that I've seen. And
No, I mean, it's interesting because we are such, not only are in the movie business, we're big movie fans.
yeah,
There's just not a whole lot that you want to see. What was a recent surprise, though, was Song Sung Blue.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. It was very surprising. It's got a lot of heart to it. Kate Hudson is fantastic. in
Yeah,
it.
she just is-
Hugh Jackman is good. They can sing, but it's got a surprising real heart to it.
It does. It does. But I would say, you know, one of the last movies that really made a big difference, and I'm picking the one that I just mentioned, is Sound of Freedom. And it was one that Disney sat on. They didn't want to release it. And when it then was released independently, we know the director of that, Alejandro Monteverde, when it was released, and good on Disney for at least letting them do that, it started something. It resonated. It is the topic of our day. One of them, child trafficking, and what do you do about it? So so there are movies that slip through that way, but I don't know that it reflects culture as much.
The last one I really waited for a long time ago was the Lord of the Rings because I love the books, and read them and would have great dialogues. And then in the end, in the first one, when the hobbits, when they come back to the Shire,
Yeah.
the Shire's destroyed in the book. In the movie, when they come back, and everything's okie dokie and fine, and he is taken away. It's not what happened.
Right.
We-
Right.
Well, the best
Where's-
way to ruin a lot of movies is read the books. But when
the
their
books
book
are
is
often
that
better.
solid, you wish that they would stay with the
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 point was so
original
well
source.
taken when
Yeah.
they return to the Shire.
Yeah.
It's been
No one's
destroyed. Yes, it's
untouched.
been
Yeah.
destroyed.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point that he was making.
Absolutely.
And so stuff like that when I guess as a reader stay away from movies. The only one movie that this is away from what we're talking about was To Kill a Mockingbird. It stayed. The book stayed with the movie.
Yeah.
Stayed with the book.
Yeah, and what's ironic though
And
is
how long
you know,
ago? Yeah.
is the far left wanting to ban that because there's a certain word that is used that was period,
was
and
period.
but they missed the fact that the overall point is it's one of the most anti-racism movies that you could ever watch
Great
or
film.
book you could read. So
And then she does To Set a Watchman,
yes,
and I go and buy it because I want to read it. It's a follow-up on Atticus.
yeah,
Atticus doesn't turn out so great.
yeah, it's
And
tough.
it's like coming back to the Shire.
Have
Well-
you seen Hacksaw Ridge?
I have.
Yeah,
I have.
That's a great movie. But it's interesting, the ones that resonate and the ones that can make a difference. I don't know if there are any real difference maker movies anymore that
No,
you can say it's actually influenced culture in a positive
Yes.
direction.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's breaking open. You were talking about how radio is changing so much.
man.
The movie business is completely changing. You know, now you can actually make a movie, you know, outside the system, and that's a good thing because it's starting to break that stranglehold that Hollywood had, and it's forever being changed. I mean, we're grateful. We've been busier with our own film company, Lamplight Entertainment, since coming back to Colorado than we were before, but it will always be made outside the system.
But I think, like so many different things, technology is running over top of these guys. And what happened to this business?
Yes.
And technology, as it took away radio in the 30s and 40s and replaced it with television, the newspapers are gone. Now it's on the internet, and radio's been diminished. And now, in fact, radio has to campaign to tell people, call your congressman to keep a radio, an AM radio in your car.
Right.
Or
Shouldn't
because
have.
they know that's where talk radio lives, and it's conservative
course.
based.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, and
But-
conservative radio does the best. They've tried it with Talk America or whatever it was, because really, if you get down into the deeper ideas, you can only sustain them if they are what I would call constitutional, because they are the ones that work. They are the great principles and ideas.
And radio, and well, newspapers, I've always told this story that I had an intern when I was at KOA. He's now with CNN, but he was at J School out of Missouri. And he came in, I asked the guys to get in early, and he had the Journal, USA Today, I think the Post, maybe one other paper. And he dropped them on the desk and he said, "Hey, boss, yesterday's news just got here."
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's changing. It's a
Wow.
changing world.
So
Particularly.
go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I'm going to turn the tables
Yeah.
a little bit. On the host, I'm going to ask a question. So, what's your favorite romantic movie?
Casablanca.
There
That's
you
a
go.
good
I knew it coming in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We were talking about movies that had those one-liners. You always remember, "Here's looking at you, kid," you know. Or one of my favorites that's obscure. It's not the movie's my favorite, but the line is, it's out of Moonstruck when Nicolas Cage tells Sherry he loves her. And she
yeah.
goes, "Snap out of it."
Yeah.
I mean, there's line after line after
But
line.
Casablanca is set in, in such a moment.
Yes, yeah, it is.
And,
It is.
Ronald Reagan was trying to get the role
He was.
that went on, but the two of them in the rain,
He couldn't have said
beautiful.
gin joints the way that.
all the gin joints and all the
Yeah.
honky tonks in the world, and you walk in here.
Yeah, no one but Humphrey Bogart could have done that.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Yeah.
and Ingrid Bergman, and
Yes.
she's beautiful, and
You know, thinking about romantic movies, since this is Valentine's Day, what the movies that I'm drawn to that are romantic are the ones that show real love. We talked about this earlier. Love being a choice, because most of Hollywood brings you in and it's like, oh, it's this heightened sizzle, and they meet, and then the movie ends when they say, "I love you." The real love, and this is why I love the end of The Notebook, is when you see them on the other side, and you've got James Garner and Gina Rowland, and they have stood by one another to the very end. I get choked up because that is the beauty. And Hollywood treats it like the stuff they just want to throw out. Oh, after you're married,
when
it's
Rick-
just all the jokes.
when Rick
you know?
says to her, "It ain't gonna make a hill of beans
Yeah, yeah,
because the world's on fire.
yeah, yeah,
Get on the plane."
yeah. That was sacrificial love. I love you enough to get you out of here.
No. That's my favorite film.
Oh, that's great.
To watch that.
Yeah, my favorite romantic movies are Braveheart,
Yeah.
Last of the Mohicans, and if people are not going to
Platoon.
accept, if they're not going to accept Die Hard as a Christmas movie, I think it's a love story because
Yeah,
look what
there
he
we go.
does
Yeah,
and what he goes through.
We do love Last of the Mohicans, where he said, "Stay alive, I will find you."
You know what? Did you read Fetterman Cooper when I was a kid? I'm reading that stuff. Like,
Yes, yes.
and Ching Does Cook.
Yeah,
Uncas.
oh, it's so good. It's a great
Uncas,
movie.
And
Yeah,
now I am the last.
yeah,
I'm
it
the
is.
last.
When
It
he,
is.
when he knows.
Yeah. Well, my favorite love story is ours. How's that
Ah,
for
there
a
we
sappy
go.
near conclusion?
Now, I didn't end up on the cutting room floor for that, thank goodness.
Not at all.
Thank you both. What a I mean,
Peter,
this
thanks
has
for
been
having
like
us.
one hell of a show with the Joel Oltman part of it, and then you guys. And
Now for something completely
now,
different.
now, remember that in Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yes,
now for
indeed.
something completely different. Thank you, guys, everybody. Thank you so much for doing the show this
Thank
morning.
you for
Thanks for
having
having us,
us.
Peter.
It meant
Let's
so
don't wait
much.
another 2 years.
All right, everybody.
Yeah.
That's right. Wait, go get them. Walker, thanks. Thanks, brother.